So imagine, if you will, it's the end of December and you've decided you're going to be a reasonable adult this year and check out your spending for the month to help you create your January financial game plan. You sit down with your budget, open up your bank account, start tallying up the numbers, only to have a complete panic attack because holy crap, what have you done? You spend way too much money on the holidays. Sound familiar? Take a deep breath because it happens to everyone. And I do mean everyone. It's happened to me so many times that if I had a bumper sticker for every incident, well, it'd be a really ugly car. Screwing up your budget doesn't have to be the end of the world or your blossoming healthy relationship with money. It's really just a normal part of the process. And if you take a moment to create a plan around what you're going to do when that happens, it becomes a heck of a lot less scary to deal with when it does. So here I am with the plan. Here are 7 steps to recovery when you have totally blown up your budget. Hey dreamers, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tiana Clewis, executive pastor, money coach, and co-founder of a multi-million-dollar consulting firm. I've made it my mission to help Christian women trapped in that 9-to-5 life overcome the money worries that are stopping them from stepping full-time into their God-given calling, like I have. So if you find that your coins are a roadblock to building your business, ministry, or nonprofit full-time, well, come hang out with us. I've got some tips, some tricks, and some biblical strategies that are going to help you make that shift. And now that you know who I am and what's going on around here, let's go ahead and jump into the video. All right, so you've messed up your budget. Now what do? First, let's start by taking a really deep breath in order to calm down. Okay, maybe a few deep breaths, or you take a walk, or you make some herbal tea, or you play some Christian lo-fi music just to settle the nerves. Look, I don't care how you do it as long as it's legal. I just need you to calm down. When you're freaking out and panicked, you're going to do one of 2 things. You're either going to make an emotional snap decision, or you're going to bury your head in the sand and do nothing. Neither of those options are actually acceptable in this situation. Emotional snap decisions almost always end badly because they're based off of a need to do something, but without the benefit of logical, rational thought. So you may cancel something you should have kept, apply for a payday loan that you don't need that then damages your credit, borrow money from a friend only for it to strain the relationship, get in an argument with your significant other about spending habits even if it wasn't their fault, tell yourself that you're not going to tithe anymore, and that always backfires spiritually, on, well, just something else that's crazy. But on the other end of the spectrum, putting your head in the sand and doing nothing means nothing ever gets fixed because you're too busy avoiding the facts. You don't ever figure out what really happened so that you can make smart changes that will eventually benefit you in the long term. So before you can do anything else, you have to take time to calm down. That may mean that you have to give yourself a day to feel your feelings and then come back tomorrow without all the adrenaline in order to figure this out. Or you go knock out a quick workout and then come back with a clear head, ready to get to work. So whether you need some time or you can get back to it quickly, before you move on to step number 2, you absolutely have to calm the heck down. Now, step number 2 is easy and probably the first thing any of us would do in this situation. Calculate the damage. For each category of your budget, I want you to make sure that you add up all of your transactions for the month and compare it to the budget. The difference between your budget and that total is the damage. So if your budget was $500 for groceries, but you went to the store 10 times for a total of $725 in purchases, the damage is $225. This step is really that simple. So go do your math and come back so we can move on to the next step. The third step is to ask yourself a simple question. What happened? Look, you can't fix a problem that you don't understand. So knowing what was going on when you were swiping that card is a key part to getting that understanding. After all, how can you modify your behavior to avoid this in the future if you don't know what the behavior was or even what the catalyst was for it? Getting this understanding is simple, especially if you have a decent memory. Look at the various transactions and try to remember what you were doing, what you were thinking, or what you were feeling when you made that purchase. For example, I recently dropped a decent amount of money on some purses. They're really nice purses with timeless designs and high quality workmanship, so they will likely last me for several years. But that's not the real reason why I bought them, even as I use those statements to justify the purchase. So when I think back on the purchases, I remember thinking and hearing my husband say that you've worked really hard to get to this sort of financial position. So girl, enjoy it. You deserve to treat yourself. I know what I was thinking, but the catalyst was something slightly different. You see, I've been invited to a growing number of events lately where I get to dress up, and I have changed my wardrobe, but my purse game hasn't caught up. So as a result, I kept going back to this really cheap clutch that I don't really like anymore and doesn't even match half the outfits because that's really all I had for a dressier outfit. So ultimately, the real catalyst for those purchases was not the quality, but just the fact that those events were happening and that it gave me the feeling that my outfits were either incomplete or imperfect. Now, for some people, that could have been an epic Greek tragedy that required immediate remediation, while for others, it's super stupid and shallow. And for folks like myself, it's kind of annoying, but not so much so that I'll mess up financial goals for it. I waited a while to get it done. But here's the thing. Whether your reason is shallow, logical, purely emotional, or somewhere in between, it doesn't matter. It's the reasoning. We're not judging the reasoning, we're just trying to understand it so that we can make some smart decisions on how to avoid similar overages in the future. So be honest with yourself as you ask what happened. Don't judge yourself, just accept the answers. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? And what were the catalysts to it all? If you're here randomly on my channel, do you find that insulting that the YouTube algorithm decided that your money is so jacked up that you need help? Questions that don't need answers. And hey, at this point, we're about halfway through the video, so if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow the channel by clicking the subscribe button. You know, that big red one below? Yeah, go ahead, click that thing. You know, that's how you're gonna know when I drop more goodness for you. All right, let's get back to that there list. Now that we know from step number 3 what happened, it's time to figure out if there's anything that we can do about it. To do that, we actually need to put the reasons for these transactions into categories. One-off, long-term change, or my control. A one-off is exactly how it sounds. Something you can't reasonably expect to happen regularly, like paying for a funeral for a family member that died without insurance, or paying the deductible on your homeowner's insurance after someone drove a car into your house. And yes, I do know someone that happened to. Those are easy because you don't have to change your behavior long term. You may decide to bump up your emergency fund, but that's about it since it's not likely to happen again. A long-term change is a change that you couldn't stop that's going to regularly impact your budget, like an increase in annual HOA dues or losing the first year discount on your apartment lease. Those are pretty easy also, even if they are frustrating. You simply have to increase that part of your budget to factor in the long-term change. Naturally, this is going to require that you reduce spending elsewhere, or you can get that hustle on and make just a bit more cash each month. Finally, the one that really matters is the my control purchases, which are ones that you have 100% control over, like my purse transaction. It only happened because of me. I am the only person who decided to do it. I am the sole reason it just happened, and I am the only person who literally could have stopped it from happening. Okay, maybe my husband could have by saying no, but 1, would I have listened? And 2, is he really gonna tell me no with stuff he buys? Now for the my control transactions, that reasoning behind what happened is really going to matter because that's how you're going to come up with a plan to avoid these sort of issues in the future, which is the next step. Step number 5, create a plan to change your behavior for the transactions in the my control category. Based on your reasons for making the purchases, decide what can you do to minimize the likelihood that you're going to overspend in that area again. For example, I can do a few things around the purse shopping. I can buy lower cost purses. I can buy fewer purses because I didn't buy 1 purse, I bought like 3. I could have gotten over it and not gotten any new purses at all, or I could have asked my mom and my husband about buying me purses for Christmas and my birthday in lieu of gifts so that it doesn't come out of my budget at all. And I could also still avoid my fashion foolery. But what about you? Maybe in your situation, you can find new coping mechanisms for your feelings if the reason you went shopping is that you were angry or feeling depressed. Maybe you limit yourself to only 1 outing per week if the problem was that your FOMO had you going to all of the happy hour events and restaurant outings with your girls. Or you may decide to get a meal prep service because you hate cooking, so you're spending way too much money on restaurants. The plan can be whatever you want it to be. It just needs to address the issue. It's all about owning the fact that you have 100% control over the purchase, so you also have 100% control and responsibility to make a plan to avoid overspending in that category in the future. So take a look at what happened and create a plan to help you not have it happen again next month. For step number 6, we need to address the overspending itself. So in this step, I want you to make a plan to minimize the long-term impact of your overspending. Or should I say, make a plan to avoid more debt. Look, with inflation the way that it is and interest rates spiking thanks to the Fed's floundering attempts to stop it, now is a terrible time to take on more debt. Everything is more expensive, including the price of borrowing money. So before you just let that extra spending sit on your credit cards or force you to go out and use a loan to pay for necessities, let's see if we can find another way to cover the damage. Maybe you can just pull some money from savings to cover the extra spending. No, I'm not saying to pull money from your emergency fund because this technically isn't an emergency. But if you have another fund, like a vacation fund or a car fund, it's reasonable to pull money from there to cover this expense. Or perhaps you can reduce your spending in the next month's budget. One of the things that I've done in the past is add a line item in my budget called something like last month's overage. I would allocate money to that line item in my new budget, forcing me to reduce my spending in other areas in order for the budget and the bank account to eventually balance. As long as you stick to this new budget, you essentially create a scenario either where your bank account ends up back where it would have been had you not overspent, or you have money set aside to put extra on that credit card bill. Another option we always love is to just make some extra money. This one's pretty self-explanatory. You may push more sales through your business, work more hours on your 9 to 5, take on some freelance gigs. Either way, making more money is always a great way to offset overspending. You also can sell some stuff to cover the overages. Now, I don't recommend this if it's a small overage or if you just don't have any extra stuff lying around. But if you were thinking about a garage sale, posting to Facebook Marketplace, or creating a virtual closet anyway, this would be the time. And of course, you can do any sort of combination of any of the options. It's your plan, so customize it to work for you and your family. Just do your best to make sure that your entire overage is covered, and if it's not, you may need to spread this out over the next few months. It's okay, I've been there. Again, it's all about creating a plan that keeps you out of debt in the long run and actually fits your family. Hey, it's got my name on it, look. If you didn't know how to spell my name, 1, you should because you're on my channel, but 2, here it is. My final step is one that you're going to have to implement for pretty much everything in your money journey. Step number 7 is to have grace for yourself. If you follow me for a while, this probably sounds familiar, but the truth is that you're going to screw this up sometimes. It's inevitable. In some seasons, you'll screw up more than in others, but it's going to happen. No matter how good you get at managing money or how perfect you try to be, things like this are just going to happen. So, welcome to being human. But if you don't learn how to have grace for yourself when you do make your money mistakes, like blowing up the budget, all you're going to do is create stress, anxiety, and grief for yourself that's unhealthy and unnecessary. So instead of expecting perfection, hold yourself to a standard of, I'll do my absolute best, because that's all anyone can ask of you, even yourself. And when your absolute best does fall short, have enough grace for yourself to say, it's okay, we have a plan, we'll do better next time. And there you have it, folks. 7 steps for making a recovery after you've messed up your budget. How do you feel? Less panicked? More prepared to tackle the next month? Less freaked out about the damage that you did in October? Whatever those feelings are, go ahead and drop them in the comments because this community is all about transparency and truth, even if it's uncomfortable. And if you see someone in the comments that is having a mild meltdown as a result, go ahead and send them some words of encouragement. We all need some encouragement from time to time. Now, if you're struggling to walk through these steps and get your plan together from your last busted budget or your latest financial crisis, I can totally help you out 101 for free 99. Just go to my website at tianabclewis.com/breakthrough and book a free 30-minute session with me. In that session, we'll talk about where you are, where you want to be, and custom strategies you can use to bridge that gap for you and your family. And all it'll cost you is 30 minutes of your time. So take advantage of my free advice. Head to my website at www.tianabclewis.com/breakthrough to book the time on my calendar. Don't forget to let me know that you found this video useful by hitting that thumbs up button and clicking the big red button below to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell so that you're notified every time I drop brand new money tips and biblical strategies to help you bust through your financial barriers so you can step big, bad, boldly into your God-given calling full time. So with that, I'm actually going to get back into my pajamas. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.